expansion was discussed both at a committee level and at the board, and ultimately the league office was tasked by our board with doing an in-depth analysis of all the issues around expansion.
When millions of dollars, viral corporate sponsorships, and raw athletic rivalries collide, the results are rarely quiet. But what is happening behind the closed doors of modern women's basketball has reached a point of absolute volatility. We are living through an unprecedented era, where athletic competition is no longer restricted to 40 minutes on a hardwood floor, but instead plays out across a 24-hour digital news cycle powered by algorithm metrics, lifestyle marketing, and massive corporate bankrolls. The women's basketball ecosystem has experienced a meteoric rise in global visibility, bringing with it staggering amounts of capital, high-stakes endorsement deals, and severe corporate friction. When a global sneaker giant decided to throw a massive financial bag at one of the league's most viral personalities, it set off a chain reaction that reached the absolute highest levels of professional sports governance. What started as a standard corporate press release quickly descended into a full-scale narrative war, dragging in defensive juggernauts, viral fan favorites, and ultimately the commissioner of the NBA himself. When lines were drawn in the sand between pure court performance and viral lifestyle marketability, the response from executive leadership was not a diplomatic compromise, but a sharp, calculated statement that left viewers, fans, and athletes completely stunned. To understand how this massive confrontation developed, one has to look at the remarkable transformation of Sophie Cunningham and her unique rise within the sports culture landscape. Drafted out of Missouri, Cunningham initially built her reputation on relentless physical toughness, high-percentage shooting, and an intense competitiveness that made her an immediate fan favorite in Phoenix. However, as the league expanded into the mainstream consciousness, Cunningham recognized an entirely different arena of opportunity that stretched far beyond standard box scores and defensive ratings. She leaned heavily into the modern athlete influencer model, transforming her pre-game tunnel walks into high-fashion runway events that routinely generated millions of impressions across Instagram, TikTok, and X. While traditional basketball analysts were analyzing pick-and-roll coverage and field goal percentages, corporate marketing teams were staring directly at her engagement velocity, audience demographics, and click-through rates. Cunningham cultivated an unfiltered, highly energetic online persona that resonated with a massive demographic of casual sports viewers, turning her into one of the most visible faces in the entire sport, regardless of whether her team was winning or losing. Recognizing this massive commercial opportunity, sneaker titan Reebok decided to execute a bold strategic move to stake its claim in the modern basketball landscape. For decades, Reebok had struggled to recapture the legendary status it held during the era of Shaquille O'Neal and Allen Iverson, routinely losing ground to dominant corporate giants like Nike, Jordan Brand, and Adidas. Under new corporate leadership with Shaq spearheading their basketball division, Reebok made it clear that they were no longer interested in playing by the old corporate playbook. Instead of strictly chasing players who sat at the top of MVP voting ballots, Reebok wanted magnetic personalities who could command modern digital real estate and seamlessly bridge the gap between athletic performance and street fashion culture. Signing Sophie Cunningham to a multi-year, multi-million-dollar deal was a statement move designed to signal that Reebok was targeting lifestyle crossover power above everything else. The deal instantly provided Cunningham with dedicated shoe lines, custom apparel campaigns, and a level of corporate backing that only a tiny fraction of professional female athletes ever experience. While the announcement was celebrated by Cunningham's massive fan base as a victory for modern player branding, it immediately ignited a fierce wave of resentment and frustration across locker rooms and social media circles. The primary catalyst for this backlash was Dijonai Carrington, an elite perimeter defender, Most Improved Player award winner, and an athlete who has consistently used her public platform to expose what she sees as structural unfairness in sports media. Carrington's athletic resume is built on cold, hard performance, shutting down rival superstars on a nightly basis, diving for loose balls, and bringing an intense, uncompromising defensive focus to the floor. For years, Carrington has publicly questioned why mainstream sports media outlets and major corporate sponsors appear to selectively elevate specific athletes while ignoring others who deliver far greater impact on the court. Carrington's critique went straight to the core of a sensitive topic in modern sports, suggesting that race, privilege, aesthetic marketability, and conformity to corporate stereotypes play a massive role in deciding who gets rich from endorsements and who gets left behind in obscurity. When news of Cunningham's lucrative Reebok agreement hit the news cycle, Carrington did not hold back her thoughts. While she did not explicitly name Cunningham in every post, her social media feeds quickly became a lightning rod for commentary about double standards, corporate favoritism, and the devaluation of elite defensive play. Carrington highlighted the glaring contrast between how different athletes are framed in media coverage, arguing that certain players receive relentless corporate protection, media passes, and commercial elevation simply for having a marketable look, while black athletes who perform at elite levels are often demonized, overlooked, or subjected to intense, harsh scrutiny. Carrington's posts were sharp, direct, and completely unapologetic, sparking an instantaneous divide across the basketball world. To her passionate group of supporters, Carrington was a fearless truth-teller, exposing the systemic commercial biases that govern modern sports entertainment. To her vocal detractors, her public comments were viewed as bitter, jealous attacks directed at a fellow union member who simply capitalized on her personal brand momentum. The digital debate quickly turned hostile, splitting the fan base into two deeply hostile camps that argued relentlessly across every online platform. Comment sections became virtual battlegrounds, where users dissected tunnel outfit photos against defensive rating metrics, debating whether modern sports sponsors should care more about stylish pre-game walks or true two-way court dominance. Supporters of Cunningham pointed out that professional sports is fundamentally an entertainment business driven by consumer attention and revenue generation. They argued that Cunningham built her platform completely on her own, spending countless hours engaging fans, perfecting her public image, and creating a marketable personal brand that Reebok was entirely justified in paying millions to acquire. They maintained that if other players wanted similar shoe deals, they should focus on building their own marketability, instead of complaining about the players who actually took the time to do it. However, Carrington's defenders countered with an equally passionate argument about the integrity of professional sports. They maintained that when corporate sponsors and league media outlets disproportionately reward lifestyle aesthetic appeal over pure basketball excellence, it undermines the fundamental principle of athletic competition. They pointed to Carrington's stellar court performance, her MIP award, her defensive lockdowns, and her key role in deep playoff runs, questioning why those objective achievements yielded a fraction of the commercial backing handed to players with lower stat profiles. The discourse tapped into deeply rooted societal conversations about colorism, demographic bias, and how corporate America decides which female athletes are allowed to represent mainstream sports culture. The online tension reached such an extreme level that every game featuring either player became mandatory viewing, with viewers tuning in specifically to see if the personal animosity would erupt into physical altercations on the hardwood floor. As the public debate reached a fever pitch, it inevitably reached the highest corridors of executive authority within the basketball infrastructure. The WNBA operates under a unique corporate partnership with the NBA, sharing business resources, media rights contracts, and strategic growth models. For executives sitting at league headquarters, The public narrative surrounding Cunningham and Carrington represented a double-edged sword. On one hand, the explosive engagement metrics, viral debates, and media attention were driving unprecedented fan interest and television ratings. On the other hand, corporate sponsors and network broadcast executives prefer smooth, universally appealing narratives that sell products without exposing deep political, racial, or structural divisions within the league. Executive leadership knew that allowing a prominent player like Carrington to openly criticize corporate sponsor choices risked scaring off prospective multi-million-dollar advertisers who want to avoid toxic public relations fallout at all costs. The turning point came when Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA who plays a vital executive role in shaping the financial future of modern professional basketball, addressed the broader landscape of player visibility, personal branding, and media coverage during a high-profile industry event. Silver, traditionally known for his quiet diplomacy, consensus-building executive style, and player-friendly approach, chose a surprisingly blunt tone when discussing the mechanics of modern sports marketability. Without directly dropping names, Silver's comments were meticulously timed and structured in a way that addressed Carrington's vocal complaints head-on, sending a clear, unequivocal message across the entire league. Silver explained that in the modern digital media era, corporate endorsement capital flows to athletes who generate measurable brand value, digital engagement, and commercial interest, completely independent of league intervention or administrative control. What shocked many onlookers was the subtle, cold tone Silver utilized when describing players who publicly complain about a lack of corporate backing and sponsor attention. Silver essentially stated that athletes cannot expect multinational corporations to hand out lucrative shoe contracts as an award for on-court participation or statistics alone, emphasizing that marketability is an individual responsibility that requires building an authentic, highly engaging connection with consumers. To many within the media space, Silver's remarks were seen as a direct, calculated dismissal of Carrington's entire platform. By framing the issue purely around individual branding hustle and commercial reality, Silver was subtly mocking the idea that corporate endorsement disparities were the result of media bias or systemic favoritism. His message was clear, direct, and undeniably harsh. If an athlete wants the massive financial rewards that come with major brand deals, they need to build a brand that people actually want to spend money on, rather than criticizing the athletes who have successfully mastered the business of self-promotion. The executive commentary sent massive shockwaves through media circles, locker rooms, and fan communities alike. Carrington's supporters were instantly outraged, accusing Silver of acting as a cold corporate hatchet man whose primary objective was protecting wealthy sponsors and dismissing legitimate complaints about systemic bias in sports marketing. They argued that Silver's public stance completely ignored the distinct challenges faced by outspoken black athletes, reducing complex issues of player representation to a cold corporate spreadsheet. Critics pointed out that by endorsing the logic behind Cunningham's deal, while publicly shooting down Carrington's critique, Silver was explicitly telling players to fall in line, stop raising difficult questions about equity, and focus on selling merchandise if they wanted executive respect and financial prosperity. Conversely, corporate analysts, sports media personalities, and Cunningham's loyal supporters praised Silver for delivering a much-needed dosage of economic reality to professional sports culture. They argued that Silver was simply speaking the unvarnished truth about how capitalism operates in the modern entertainment era. Sneaker companies like Reebok are not public charities, nor are they bound by duty to distribute shoe deals equally based on defensive efficiency ratings. They are profit-driven corporations that invest capital with the explicit goal of generating a return on investment through product sales, brand awareness, and digital reach. From this perspective, Silver was not mocking Carrington out of malice, but rather shutting down a false narrative that suggested league officials or corporate executives owed any athlete an endorsement deal simply because they played great defense. The ripple effects of this executive confrontation immediately spread to the locker rooms across the league, altering how players view their personal career management and income streams. With standard WNBA maximum salaries still cap-constrained compared to their NBA counterparts, off-court endorsement money represents the primary vehicle for female athletes to achieve true lifelong financial independence. Silver's public stance sent a chilling realization through the player body. Adapt to the viral, lifestyle-driven corporate template, or risk missing out on the vast majority of commercial wealth available in modern sports. Several veteran players quietly expressed discomfort with this shift, worried that the fundamental spirit of athletic competition was being warped by an obsession with TikTok trends, fashion walks, and social media posturing. They worried that younger generations of players coming into the league would prioritize building an online brand over grinding in the gym to perfect their jump shot or defensive footwork. Despite the intense executive pushback and online hostility, Dijonai Carrington refused to back down an inch from her firmly held beliefs. Known throughout her life for her fierce independence and mental toughness, Carrington responded in the only way she knew how, by doubling down on her aggressive on-court play and refusing to censor her public thoughts. In the games immediately following Silver's executive remarks, Carrington delivered masterclass performances on the defensive end, using her elite lateral speed, physical strength, and instincts to completely shut down opposing perimeter scorers. Her play sent a silent yet roaring counter-message back to the league's corporate suites. No amount of corporate marketing spin, executive shade, or sneaker deals can replace raw athletic dominance when the game clock is running. Every hard foul, steal, and transition basket became a physical statement that her value as a pure hooper was non-negotiable. Meanwhile, Reebok and Sophie Cunningham capitalized immensely on the massive media storm surrounding the partnership. The intense public debate, social media discourse, and executive commentary effectively provided millions of dollars in free publicity for the shoe line, elevating the contract into one of the most talked-about endorsement deals in recent sports memory. Reebok leaned heavily into the momentum, rolling out extensive marketing campaigns that celebrated Cunningham's bold personality, fashionable lifestyle, and fearless approach to life both on and off the basketball court. The product line sold at incredible speeds, validating Reebok's initial bet and proving to corporate boardrooms across the globe that lifestyle crossover appeal remains the single most lucrative metric in modern athlete endorsement strategies. The whole situation brought to light the deep, irreconcilable fracture at the heart of modern sports entertainment. We are witnessing a monumental shift, where the traditional metrics of athletic success are continuously colliding with the ruthless demands of modern corporate media capitalism. Athletes are no longer judged solely by their championships, points per game, or defensive honors, but by their ability to function as highly efficient content engines that move products for global brands. Sophie Cunningham mastered this new corporate landscape, securing a life-changing financial deal by giving companies exactly what they wanted: viral reach, lifestyle glamour, and seamless commercial appeal. Dijonai Carrington chose the far harder path of the outspoken challenger, demanding that the industry confront its underlying biases and pay respect to pure athletic performance, even when it creates intense discomfort for executive leadership. Adam Silver's cold, calculated intervention made the executive position crystal clear, establishing that league leadership will side with corporate efficiency, commercial expansion, and financial metrics every single time. By dismissing complaints about endorsement disparities as simple failures of personal branding, Silver drew a firm line in the sand that every future professional athlete will have to navigate. The message sent from the highest office in basketball was loud, unmistakable, and utterly devoid of sympathy. Adapt to the brutal rules of modern sports marketing, or be prepared to watch the biggest corporate bags go to someone else. As the league continues its rapid financial expansion, with brand new TV rights agreements worth billions of dollars on the horizon, the war between lifestyle marketability and raw court performance is only going to intensify. Younger athletes